First of all, I should apologize to this August gathering for the incongruity, rather asangati, as I say, or anupaitata, the inappropriateness of my presence in your midst. I'm not an academic or a social thinker or or a critic or even a true follower of Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji in that spirit. I can blame myself for my presence in your midst only to the friendship with Professor Veer Singh. As I say, many things are excused in friendship, and this may also be. Ladies and gentlemen, a series of speakers, Professor Singh and Professor Sebastian Velashiri have already discussed certain issues. And a more scholarly talk is awaiting all of us from the experience, wisdom, and erudition of none other than Professor Sri Koshari ji. You all have an access to a brilliant compilation of the speaking, what do you call that, the reading material of this conference. Excellent compilation of the conference material consisting of write-ups from all the participants. Just a glance of it, and that itself can give you a lot of ideas. And it is not a gathering who are not unaware of or not attuned to the philosophy of Pandit Deen Dayal also. In such a context, what's left for me is to look at the concept of integral humanism, Ekatva Manavavada, in the premise of what Panditji describes as the Chitti of the nation. Is the only concept about which I'll be just touching upon in my brief intervention. We all know that the core principle of Deen Dayal Ji Upadhyay can be defined as four-dimensional human needs: body, mind, intellect, and soul, and alternatives to the Western ideologies of ism, both communism and capitalism, etc., and harmony with nature, etc. The pillars of Panditji's philosophy can be summarized as Antyodaya, Dharma, Swadeshi, and finally Chitti. Chitti, the word comes from Chit, Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, and bliss. The concept of Chitti is also the core of the national consciousness or national soul. It is a innate, enduring essence that defines a nation's identity, the nation's values, civilizational ethos, and the way Panditji had seen is as distinguishing it from merely the geographical or political entity. We also know that it was left to, even before Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji, Vivekananda Swami had very eloquently mentioned, he had described this issue earlier than him. Probably it was Swamiji who first spoke about or declared the concept of a nation's identity, the Chit concept, dealing with or running through each of the nation, the distinct characteristic of each nation as different from each society or each individual. Each nation has a main current in life. In India, it is religion. This was probably Swami Vivekananda's famous observation. Swamiji defined India's identity as fundamentally spiritual, whose mission is not military or political, but to hold the torch of inner wisdom and Vedanta to the world. What is the relevance of this concept as defined or as delineated by Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji in the modern times? also in the context of the Viksit Bharat. First, what is Bharata? What is Bharatavarsha for us? Vishnu Purana gives the most significant and ancient definition of Bharata, probably one of the oldest. Uttaram yat samudrasya himadrishya eva dakshinam varsham yat bharatam nama bharati yatra santam. I don't have to explain these words, where the Himadri on the top and Samudra in the Dakshina, that Bharatavarshan it is called, that landmass is called Bharatavarshan, and whose children are called Bharati. Probably Mahakavi Kalidasa gave it a more digestive description. Astuttarasya Dishi Devatatma Himalayo Namana Dati Raja. Down the line, so many people have done it. We are probably the country whose first cartographer, the map maker, was none other than Adi Shankara. He defined the map of India for the first time, deciding the 4 cornerstones of this country and setting up the 4 mathas in 4 corners of the south, east, west, and north. It is very strange that what they call Adi Shankara, who was called the Prachanna Buddha, and all, who fought Buddhism to bring it back to Hinduism. The entire landmass of outside the Gandhara, Takshashila, where so much of Buddhism was there, why Adi Shankara did not bother to set up a matha there. His Indianness or his Indian map has been restricted to. This is another point one could ponder. So we are a country who has been, whose cornerstones have been defined by Adi Shankara. Starting from the Vedanta days, where the Shruti and Smriti, the Puranas, mythology, different cultures, languages, varying landmass, so many types of people, millions of, thousands of language groups, and connecting thread of Indianness, as Swami Vivekananda had called, the chitti or the religiosity, the land where at least 3 religions originated, all other religions and set of people finding solace there. Then coming to the medieval period, a series of attacks from outside world, and most of them getting assimilated into this country. Till the Britishers coming, the entire narrative, entire discussion, entire description changing. Macaulay's famous, attempt, famous or infamous, whatever, attempt to Sanskritize the savages and educate the natives. Then our fight for independence, gaining it, early days of poverty, and in the last 50-60 years, our march towards food security and our progress on all sides. Currently, 1.5 billion Indians claiming our rightful place on the Committee of Nations. In the confident Indian, the dominant Indian, modern day, even demanding Indian. That is the narrative, that is the changeover of this country. It is the Virat Rupa, again, what Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay ji had mentioned, from the Chitti to the Virat Rupa. We have reached that level. He had mentioned it, Deendayal ji had mentioned it probably 60 years back. And it took some time actually for a country of our size and our differences in internal, what they call the diversities. It takes some time to reach it, and that the concept is getting realized over the resurgent India of the modern time, the current times, has been putting forward 2 concepts also. That is the relevance of this entire discussion, and having a relook into what Panditji has been mentioning. The concept of Vishwaguru and that of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Both are the concepts that we have put across. If you look at very carefully and slightly analytically, we can see that the concept of Vishwaguru is a demanding concept whereas the other one, that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, is a commanding position. We all know the subtle difference between demanding respect and commanding respect. The knowledge, of course, a huge repository of ancient knowledge, wisdom, intellectual eminence, is what make us a claimant for the position of Shubhu. That being so, there are still issues that we need to tackle before doing that. Comprehensive development, financial inclusion, the sense of citizenship, and deepening of democratic values, etc. That is a position that we still need to earn with some amount of, unless and until what Bhimrao Ambedkar ji had mentioned about the political freedom versus the socio-economic freedom, one more in his famous statement in the Constituent Assembly. The concept of Vishwaguru is as a demanding thing. It is, we have to strive jointly in a major way hard in order to achieve that. Whereas as far as the context of or the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is concerned, it is a much more emotionally appealing. It is much more all-encompassing, and it is much more embracing also. It has come from the famous 4 lines, I am Nija Paroveti Garana Lukuchetasa, Udara Jaritanam Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. To think that it is yours, it is mine, is only to think of, the thought process of people who think very, very, Lukuchetasa, people, narrow-minded people. Udara Jaritanam, people who think large and big. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, entire world is Vasudha Eva is our Kutumbakam. This has been the cornerstone of our philosophy also. It's the only philosophy or only civilization which mentioned Ekam Siddha Vipra Bahuda, while rest of it, especially the Semitic and so many other people have been saying that mine is the only way. We only mentioned that there are various ways to reach it. Ekam Siddha Vipra Bahuda. Whatever that ultimate one issue, one point or one essence can be approached in various ways. We are the only people who mention that Anobhadra Kratava Yendu Vishwata. Let noble thoughts come from everywhere. Sandajyatham Sambadhatva. Let us travel together, let us eat together, let us talk together. Sahanavatu. Professor Raskin had quoted that. Much more important are famous statements about Lokasamasta Sukhno Bhavantu or Sarve Santu Sukhina, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya. Which other civilization or which other sector people had given this concept of Itaretharatva? I and you are together, I and you are the concern for the apara, Itaretharatva. And Narayana Guru, the famous, the Malayali, the great farmer, he said, Atma Sukhatina Ajaritunava, Aparanna Sukhatina Ivarana. Whatever you do for yourself should be good for the other person. The aparatva, the importance, the way I can see you as me, that is precisely the concept of the Ekatma Manavavada, integral humanism. Ability to look at everybody as your brethren, friends, etc. And this is precisely the concept, and this is precisely the way to the other concept of Vishwaguru also. You have to command it. You have to command respect before demanding. The interdependence, feeling of oneness, Sarvadharma or Sarvajanma Samabhava. How do you achieve it? How do you strive towards that policy or that position? In my very humble opinion, a large number of people are sitting here. It is possible if we are ready to look at our inherited identity. Look at the inherited identity more dispassionately, or rather less vehemently, and shift the weight of our collective egotism, the societies of human beings or nations or even set of peoples, collective self-importance or self-centeredness to those of the acquired identity. Let me try to explain. The two concepts or the two terminologies that I wanted to put across is the inherited identity, that is the Sanchita Swatva, and the acquired identity, that is Arjita Sutra. Family, caste, creed, society, language, locality, religion, state, nation, everything which are dependent on that primary single aspect called your birth is Sanjita Sutra. Whatever you define, each one of us are born into a family. By virtue of that, an area, then language, then the caste, creed, society, locality, religion, state or nation, all born out of the factor of birth. Sanjita Sutra, inherited. As against that, the acquired identity, which is your education institution. I have studied in this college, this school, my job, my profession. I'm a politician, I'm a civil servant, I'm a teacher, I'm an academician. And the colleges, this university versus that university, this department versus professional interest, music, art, all what you acquire later. Why I mentioned is that the fights, 1,000 years of fights, all the problems that is besieging this world, if you look very clearly and very incisively, you can see that they're all born out of your inherited identity. There is no 1,000-year fight between an academic and a civil servant. The fight is only between the sons of soil, or Shaivite versus Vaishnavite, Hindu versus Muslim, Bihar versus Bengal, X Jati versus Y Jati, Ukraine versus Lebanon versus Israel. These are all born out of that singular concept of our birth, our stress on that inherited identity. Let us, the minute we are ready to shift it. I'm not saying that inherited identity is not important. It is precisely what you make you what you are. But our ability to look at it dispassionately and to understand that whatever I claim as my great thing, that the audience and the professors will know that we all operate under all these narratives are born out of three things: the philosophy, the mythology, and the rituals. I have my family philosophy. I have my family mythology. I have my family rituals. It applies to each one of us. Each family has it. Each caste has. Each mohalla has it. Each locality has it. Each language has it. Each country has it. But the problem is that we think that my philosophy, my ritual, I as a Bhumiyar, I as a Kayas, I as a Brahmin, I as a Nair, I as a Nambudiri, or I as from this. We then in our over enthusiasm for our own philosophy, our own family, philosophy, mythology, and ritual, we try to negate that with other persons. If we can understand, if we can shift this narrative, slightly change our position and our ability to look at from the other person's spectacle, I think this country will be much better. The acquired identity will be much easier to deal with. If you are ready to look at the inherited identity as an accident of birth and acquired identity as an attribute in time, it will make all of us much more humble, much more compassionate, much more brotherly, much more modest, much more merciful to the other person. I'm not saying that our roots are not important. We have to grow roots in order to spread our wings. We have to know what we are, where we come from, in order to decide where we have to go. But at the same time, as the integral humanism that Panditji was mentioning about, let us understand that the stories that we think as our own are entirely born out of the fact of your accident of birth in which you have no control. And the While retaining pride in our identity, where from we have come, let us also not self-negate, but absorb all others. No, let us not negate the position of others, but absorb all others, other viewpoints also. I think the integral humanism that Revered Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay had envisaged would come about when larger number of people are trained, attuned, or enabled to look at our acquired identity more proudly than our inherited one. And hope these that will definitely enable the nation as a whole to progress with much more larger understanding. And that is the Virat route that we are slowly taking shape will get its final position that way. It will definitely make, as Robert Frost has famously mentioned, Earth is the right place for love, and I don't know where it is likely to go better. We have only one place to live and love each other. Let us do it like that. And Alexander Pope made it much more cynically. Grave is a fine and private place, but none there do I think embrace, he said. So let us go by Robert Frost than Alexander Pope. I'm sure that this 3-day conference under the able leadership of Professor Sudhir Singh is going to look at all these aspects in various contours of various facets. I wish the deliberations every success, and I thank the organizers from the bottom of my heart for calling me and allowing me to share my thoughts. My only problem is that I'm not seeing any of the audience, and I don't know. Without a patient and face-to-face meeting, I don't know how people will take the position that I take. I don't know. I can't even change moderate or modulate my views and my expression without seeing other people otherwise. And pardon me for that. I wish a great time for each one of all the participants. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. Jai Hind.